Republicans are basically saying it's great to work with them on be able to pass this National Defense Authorization Act, but they're claiming that Democrats and Speaker Pelosi are not working with them to deal with inflation, to deal with more higher gas prices. Your reaction to that?
Well, and I'll yield to Pete on this as well. President Biden has taken decisive action in terms of the strategic oil reserve release that is designed to ease some of the gas price pressures that the American people are experiencing. There are also geopolitical issues and challenges related to the Gulf states that I believe the Biden administration is trying to deal with in order to address gas prices. We don't have support from our colleagues on the other side of the aisle in terms of any serious proposals, because they're focused on lecturing us, as Marjorie Taylor Greene did, on what the Republican base actually is, and spiking the football 12 months before a midterm election, telling us basically to expect nothing but investigations and subpoenas, and in all likelihood, the impeachment of someone from the Biden administration without any reasonable basis or cause. This is what the Republicans are telling us. That's their governing strategy and philosophy. They're not seriously trying to deal with the cost pressures that the American people are experiencing, because if they were, then they'd come forward with some ideas and work with us in terms of the Build Back Better Act. They are not.
All I would add is within NDAA, Alyssa Slotkin authored some bipartisan amendments related to the supply chain as well. So even in the legislation that we are passing, we continue to address issues of importance to members. Clearly, the military has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge of the supply chain issues, and so imparting some of that on the broader economy is something that that the House Armed Services Committee wanted to convey, and did that in a bipartisan way.
Thank you, Chairman. Back to the January 6th committee, we heard that the criminal referrals were meant in part to deter others from stonewalling. Just, given the fact that after Steve Bannon, you've had Jeffrey Cohen, not exactly client, and now you have Mark Meadows, does it show that that deterrence part is not actually working?
No, I'd reject that completely. We've heard from a number of the attorneys of individuals who we have spoken to. Clearly, we've heard from some counsel that have said specifically, my client is not Steve Bannon. And so, we know that this is something that individuals don't take lightly, and clearly their counsel doesn't take it lightly. Like I said, over 270 witnesses who have come forward, and we continue to gather information. It is an incredibly small number of individuals who have indicated they're going to claim privilege or otherwise stonewall our efforts, and they will have consequences to those actions. But we continue to gather information, as evidenced by the chairman's letter to Mr. Meadows' attorney that was released this morning.
Any final questions?
Yeah. Also, yesterday, the Republicans were saying that the term insurrection, you're calling the January 6th rioters insurrections, is simply incorrect because no one has been charged with insurrection or sedition. What's your response to that?
Well, I think, the House is on record in a bipartisan way as a result of the impeachment of former President Trump the second time, that the President of the United States engaged in inciting a violent insurrection that we all saw with our own eyes, the storming of the Capitol, an assault on police officers, resulting in more than 140 being seriously injured, and subsequently some loss of life amongst officers. And it was an effort on January 6th to halt the peaceful transfer of power. To me, that's an insurrection. Now, if my Republican colleagues want to spend their time not dealing with inflation, not dealing with COVID, not dealing with the effort to create millions of good-paying jobs, then that's on them. And the choice between what Democrats are all about in delivering with a party of opportunity and what Republicans are all about, they are the party of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Dr. Gosar, and Lauren Boebert. I'll take that contrast any day. Thank you, everyone.